So welcome to the webinar. My name is Mohammed Mufid. I'm a senior consultant with Virginia Institute. I just wanted to confirm if you can hear me, please write down to me on the chat. Reply by yes. So thank you. Thank you so much for the reply. Type. We'll start right now by talking about the dashboard types and design principles. So this is the webinar of this evening. And before we start, I'm just going to introduce myself again. So my name is Mohammed Mufid. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and specialize in data analytics, dashboard designing, Power BI, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and MS Project. You can also see a complete profile on www.viftraining.com. So before we start the webinar right now, I need to mention and talk about some key points. So housekeeping. So this webinar is recorded and you will be emailed afterwards the video of this webinar so you can rewatch it again on your pace. And also, if you don't receive a link for that, you can always go back and check the webinar recorded version of it on elearning.viftraining.com. Use the Q&A and Q&A, I will be looking at it every 10 minutes so I can answer your questions. Please type it. And at the end of the webinar, you will have a 1-minute survey. So please, I would like you to fill that survey for me. For any technical issue, you can send your comments on the chat, type to me directly. And also you will be receiving a survey and a certificate by the end of the webinar. So also I would like to suggest to you that you can check for more webinars on our website, which is www.viftraining.com. So let's start talking about the dashboard in general. All right. There are many dashboards that we see in our daily business routines. Some of these dashboards are created on Excel, some of them on Power BI, some of them on other applications. And the purpose of the dashboard is to give us a quick insight about what's happening in our business. For example, if you're looking at the dashboard of the sales, you can at a glance looking how the sales figures are going. Could be designed on a weekly, monthly, could be on a yearly, and so on. So let's identify what type of dashboards are used in the business, and also we will be building one by the end of this course, this webinar. So let's look at them. So we're talking about some strategic. Some of the dashboard are considered to be strategic, and others to consider to be as operational, and other dashboards are tactical. So together, we will be looking right now at each dashboard type and understand what is the best use for each one of them. So we start with the strategic. When we talk about the strategic dashboard, here are some of the key points about them, or traits, SIMAT, about each, about the strategic dashboard, and each one also as well. So the strategic dashboard, it's aimed to track. It's for tracking purposes. So you track usually a strategic goal. And a strategic goal, it's something that you're talking about, a big goal. Okay, so it's quickly displaying what is the health of an organization, usually used for executive, and it includes KPIs such as actual versus target, and so on. Here is an example of a dashboard. It's a strategical dashboard. If you can see that it shows revenues for the next 12 months, talking about costs, comparing the cost with the revenue, and showing also some contracts and so on. Next, we'll talk about operational dashboards. So operational dashboards, from its name, it's for operation. Yeah, it's a high level also overview, but also it has a real-time monitoring of what's going on. So you can look at, see what is going on at the real time. And if there is something wrong, you can take an action proactively or take a remedy to solve such an issue. They are usually also focused on a specific area of the business. So for example, you can take a dashboard that's built in the project management. So when you're talking about a simple project manager, when he builds a dashboard, he wants to see what is the progress of the tasks that's happening, what is pending of the task, what task has been moved, what task has been achieved and accomplished with what resources, and so on. So this is an example of an operational dashboard. Next, we're going to talk about the tactical. So the tactical is the analytical one. When it talks about tactical, you talk about deep analysis. When people, they look at it with one insight, they can understand that, okay, we need to make a decision about the situation that we are seeing over there. All right. So usually expert analysts, they focus more on using such dashboard, and it focus on an area also of the business. And it holds also what they call it a large volume of the data, and could be historical data. So here's an example of a tactical. We're talking about software development where we have some defects in this and want to see how many minor defects with the major defects and how many criticals are we having. On a week, we have a trends to show. We have wanted to show what is the total of them and how we can dig in deep analysis, understanding why we have a big number of majors, why we have big number of critical. We notice that the critical number is growing down or the major numbers are going up. So we'll dig deep into that area to understand what's going on. And that's the use for the tactical dashboard. So if you wanted right now to build a dashboard, I wanted to take the decision, what dashboard do we need to create? I want to create a dashboard. So here is a flow chart to explain to us what we need to do. We'll ask ourselves the first question. Okay, do we need to track company-wide goal? If the answer is yes, then we should make a strategic one. If the answer is no, we'll ask ourselves a second question. Do you want to track a performance in a specific business area? And if it's yes, is it a real-time monitoring? So if it's also yes, so this is an operational. And next, we'll ask ourselves, if no, we don't want to track a performance and in real time, do we want to analyze data instead of tracking? And if the answer is yes, do we have also historical large data? Then our choice of building, it should be a tactical. So now we know that how we can select what type of a dashboard. Based on that, we need to understand what KPIs I need to do so I can create my dashboard. Here are some examples of some KPIs that you can use, and you can see for sales KPIs, an example of that is number of new contracts signed per period. You have a dollar value for new contracts signed per period, and so on. An example of financial KPI is like a growth in revenue, net profit margin, and gross profit margin. Also, another example for the customer service is number of customer returned, percentage of market share, net promoter score. And for operational KPIs like number of orders fulfilled by time, you can talk about time to market, employee satisfaction rating. And when you talk about also the marketing, you can see number of qualified leads, and there are also monthly website visitors and the traffic and so on. So right now we understand that these KPIs can help us and could be any KPI. The thing is that when you want to report, you should always use a KPI to report on. And the best is that you define this KPI upfront so you can build an insight about how you want to report this KPI, in which dashboard, and so on. So now we'll talk about some of the design principles. Some of the design principles when we come to actually build that dashboard sheet. And we will apply these principles when we come to build the dashboard next after this slide. So we need to define the purpose of the dashboard, and that's what we talked about. We want to define, is it strategical? Is it operational? Is it tactical? And when we choose a relevant KPI, that's very important because the KPI is what's going to help us to report on, and then we represent those KPIs using a chart. We should select the right chart type for our report. And then after that, we look at how to follow a clear and consistent naming, how we can follow a consistent formatting, and how we truncate large values when we display them on the dashboard. All right. And then we need to define the layout. The layout is very important, is that what you want to put on the top of the dashboard, what do you want to put in the middle of the dashboard, and what you want to put at the lower part of the dashboard, and so on. When we look at the margins, we need to look at also giving some margins. Double the margins is very important. All right. And also we don't need to hide any kind of information. Don't feel shy to hide it. And we have to make sure that we put that. And also we don't have to exaggerate in putting so much of elements, interaction elements, because this could be distracting. And lastly, we'll talk about never stop evolving, because it's an ongoing process to evolve again and again and again. All right. So now let's take a look at an example where we will build a KPI. We will design our reports, then design a chart and feed it inside the dashboard. So I'm going to right now change the screen to the following. And now that we see we are going to build this dashboard, it's called the strategic dashboard. The objective of it is to show what is the expenses in 2019 against budget. And after that, we'll decide to make an agree on. So, and then after that, we'll decide on the input of this one. So it will be our input for 2020 budget. For example, we want to track the expenses and see how it's go and decide on that for our next year budget. So right now, here are my KPIs. And if you see that I have listed them in this file. So any questions so far? Anyone has any question? Okay, I can see that in the QA we don't have any questions. So before we start, I wanted right now to ask you a question. Have you used the pivot table before? So I'm gonna launch this one. Please answer. How frequently do you use pivot tables? Okay. So yes, we got once in a week. We got okay sometimes. Okay, that's good. Great. So right now I'm going to share the results, and here are the results. So you see. Now let's go to our Excel here and talk about how we're going to report these KPIs. So I have this data. It's a record of an actual and budget by departments and divisions in the different areas and in different cities. And we wanted to build a dashboard that looks something like that. So here is my financial performance dashboard. And we're keeping a screenshot of it. So we'll follow step by step when we are creating. I'll start first by going to our data and then insert a pivot table. Click on insert, pivot table, and then I'm going to click OK. Now going back to my KPI, my first KPI is talking about what is the total actual expenses and total the budget with the variance, and what is the percentage actual and what is the percentage variance. So I'm going to go back to my report page again. I'm going to rename it as report. And then we'll add the date at the beginning, because I need to group the date to get the month. So I'll right click, I'll group, I'll select days to add, and then I will have within my pivot feed list, month, quarters, and years, and so on. So for my first KPI, it talks about we need to know what is the total actual and total budget. So I'm going to select the actual and I'm going to select the budget, and it's for year 2019. So I'm going to pull the year, put it in the filter, and make sure that this will be for year 2019. Okay, so that's my report number one. And I need, of course, to add to it the variance. And the variance would be the budget minus the actual. So if I'm looking inside my data, I will not see such a field inside. So what can I do? I will create a calculated field. And to do so, I'll select my pivot table. Then I go to the Analyze tab, click on Fields, Items, and Sets, and Calculated Field. The field name is Variance, and it is equal to, I'm going to select the budget, insert it, minus the actual, insert, and I click OK. And now I have this field added to our pivot table. Next, we're going to talk about the percentage actual and the percentage variance. So the percentage variance, it will be the variance divided over the budget, and the percentage actual will be the actual divided over the budget. So I will do the same by adding these two new calculated fields. So insert calculated field, and this will be percentage actual, and I will select here the actual, then I will divide it over the budget, and I click OK. Then I'm going to add another field, which is the percentage variance, and this will be percentage variance, which will be the variance. So I'll select variance from the table, insert, I'll divide it over the budget. Click OK. Now I need to format the numbers in my report, because if you see that the numbers needs to be formatted, I'm going to right click and number format, make sure this is in numbers with 0 decimals, because these numbers are in millions, are big, and with 1,000 separator. I'll repeat the same for the second one. So I'll make sure that to use 1,000 separator with 0 decimals. As for this one and this one, they should be in percentages. So right click and I will make number format, make sure I will select it's a percentages, and click OK. We'll do the same for the last one. Number format, select percentage, and I click OK. So now I created my first report. I could also work with the naming on top. So here I'll make sure to call this one actual, and I will add a space at the end, because I cannot use the same name of a field that is available already in our pivot table fields. So therefore, we have to add a space just to differentiate. As here also for the variance, I'll add a space, and here percentage actual with a space, and here is a percentage variance with a space. So now that we have our first report ready, I need to name it. So I'll click on Pivot Table Analyze, and I can name it by Report 1. That would be a good approach when we are building the pivot tables to name our reports correctly. So KPI number 1 is done. Now let's look at the second KPI. I need to look at the divisions with their actual budget and variance. So I'm going to make a copy of this pivot table and just paste it, leave a column and paste it. So I'm leaving this column in between and paste it. So what I needed to do in this report, I need to remove the percentage actual and percentage variance. They're not required. However, I need to add the division with the actual budget and the variance. So I'll go back to my reports, and now I need to select the division. So there you go. I'm selecting the division. So I can see that here are my divisions with their actual budget and variance. Now that I'm done with my second KPI, I will copy this table, leave a column, and paste it here. Also, I will rename this report to be report number 2. So I'm going to analyze, and on the pivot table, I'll call this one report 2. Now, as for the third one right now, let's look at our KPI sheet. I would look at now number 3 is want to see the breakdown of finance and admin division. So all I need to do is to add the division this time in the filter, and I wanted to look at the breakdown for the finance and admin. So when I'm looking at the finance and admin, we need to see the departments under these divisions. So I'm going to select the department name and put it under this division. So it shows right now that we have right now the division and we have their actual and budget. However, I need to see only the breakdown as an actual. We don't want to see the budget. We don't want to see the variance. So I'm going to remove the variance and I will remove the budget. So right now we have the breakdown. If you notice that this table has something called row label over here, that's because we need just to change the report layout. So to do so, click on design and change it to tabular form. So now it's showing a department name. As well as here also, we can do the same by clicking on design and change the report layout to be in tabular form. And now the name of the division appears. So this is report number 3. So I'm going to click on Analyze, Pivot Table, and here we'll write Report 3. Next, I'm going to copy this table, Pivot Table, paste it over here, and let's go back to our report. So I wanted to see year-on-year analysis by division. So that's my report. We want to see year-on-year analysis by division. So therefore, I'm not going to focus on 2019 because I want to show also the previous year. And I don't want to also to focus on one division. I want to see all the divisions. However, this time I'm going to put the years in the column and I'm going to put the divisions in the row, and I will remove the department name. So this way we are seeing a trend, the division expenses in 2018 with 2019. Okay, so now what I need to do is to copy this report, but before to copy it, to make sure that I name it report number 4, and then we'll carry on with report number 5. So this is report number 4, hit enter. And now I will copy this report, paste it over here, and then we will work on the last requirement, which is we need to build month-on-month trend analysis by division. So what I need to do, I will go back to my reports, and over here, instead of a division over here, I will remove this division. I will select month. So from my list, I will select the months. And now that we have the month comparison for 2 years, which is the 2018 with the 2019. I have to rename also this report to make sure it's called report number 5. All right. So now, before just we move and start building our dashboard, I wanted just to go and make a revision to look at all my reports. So this is the first report, and it looks all correct. I have all the information, and it's been filtered for year 2019. For the second report as well. So I'm looking at it. We have here the division with the actual and variance, and for the 2019 year. And now when I look at this next one, I wanted to look at the division, and the division breakdown is the finance and admin 2019, and here are the departments. And here, finally, I'm looking at the trend analysis by years and by month. So now let's start building our charts. So before start building the charts, I wanted to understand. Now for the first report, I will be using, if I'm going to go and take a look at our screenshot over here, I will use these numbers, which is the actual, the budget, and the variance. I will link them to our dashboard directly. So I will not be creating a special chart for that. Instead, I will create only a link. Next, I need to create a column stack chart, and I need to create here a bar chart with an area chart and line chart. So the upper part will talk about the expense. We're talking about the details, the keyboard, and the down section, we're going to talk about the trend analysis. So I'm going right now to go back to our report page and start creating the charts. So the first chart I wanted to create, I want to create a column chart. And this time I want to make sure that it's a stack column. Now, a stack column, it's like showing something that is part of a whole. So if we're talking about the actual with the variance, if we stack them on top of each other, by adding this number to this number, it should show us the total budget. Therefore, in this report, I can remove the budget from this, and it will be enough for me to show that here is my actual, and here is what left of it, which is the variance to complete our budget. So this is my first chart. My second chart, it will be, it's a bar chart. So I'm going to select a bar chart from my group. As for the third one, it's going to be an area chart. So I'm going to click on insert because I want to show a trend, and it's an area chart. And the last one will be a line chart. So I'm going to click on insert. I will select a line chart. And now that we have those 4 charts. Let's start by building the dashboard. I'm going to add a new sheet, name it dashboard. First, I would like to have a white background. So it's the easy way to do that is to click on view and then click on grid line to uncheck it. And this way you will have a blank sheet for your dashboard. Second, I wanted to leave margins. So we said that we have to double the margins and make sure that we'll leave some space for that. So I'm going to select from cell B2 up to R2. I'll merge the cells over here and I will call it financial performance. Financial performance for my dashboard. Give it some background color with a white font and increase the font size. So that's the first part. Second, I'm going over here again to merge the cells. And here we're going to talk about expenses in dollar million, because we're going to truncate the number. And that will show you right now when we add label to the chart. I don't want to show a very large label, millions. I'm going to truncate the numbers. So therefore, we're saying that the units going to be in this section, it's going to be expenses in millions. So I'm going to click on the home tab, just add the background color to that, make a bold font, and maybe put that to this side. So let me move the first 2 charts. I will go to my report and I'm going to take the first chart and the second chart by right click cut and paste them in my dashboard sheet. So I'm going to paste them over here and I will have both of the charts moved and resized. Now, some of the items that I need to do on my charts, which is a little bit of a massage and cleaning. For example, I wanted to remove these buttons. It's a field buttons that they are not required. So I'm going to remove it for both charts. Also, I'm going to remove the legend because here we have only one series. However, here the legend is important, but I'm going to delete it for now. And I'm going to delete this one and add them for later. So now what I need to do is to look at some design color. So maybe I'm going to select a one unified design. So let's select this design. For this one, I'm going to select a design color, which is also the same color for the second one. And next, I'm going to add the data labels. And if you see right now, if I click and add data label, as I mentioned, that the numbers are looking here in millions. And that's not what we are going to do. We're aiming to truncate these numbers. So I'm going to right click, format this data label, and I'm going to go to the numbers section over here, make sure that this will be in numbers. And also in the format code, I'm going to delete 10, add comma, comma, and quotation mark, M, quotation mark, double quotation mark, and click add. And you see right now that the number over here has been truncated to a smaller number. Also, we can move this number to put at the inside end, or you can put it in the center, or you can put it in the inside base. All right. So I think that leaving the number in the center, they look very well. Also, what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase the size of these bars. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reformat the data series and decrease the gap width so the bars, they will become bigger. Now that I added the number for the actual, let me add the number for the variance. So I'm going to add the data labels on the variance. But this time, again, I need to make sure that I will format them and take care of the numbers to be truncated. Expand this, select a number, and on the format, I'm going to delete 10, add comma, comma, double quotation mark, M, double quotation mark, and I will add. Now, the numbers has been truncated. Maybe I can make them bold and also make sure that we put them to the inside end. Or maybe even look at the center, they look also fine for this category. All right, so now that I'm done with this one, so I'll take a look at the second one. The bar chart is very good that when we are having the data organized very well. So I'm going to go back to my report and I will do a sorting to this. So I will right click, sort this one, could be from large to small or from small to large. This will be reflected directly on your dashboard chart. So here you go. We can see that this has changed the arrangement of the bar. So again, here over here, I'm going to delete the axis over here, and I'm going to add data labels. And for these data labels also, I'm going to truncate the numbers by also right-click and format, then go down to the number section and do the same. Select numbers, and over here, I'm going to delete 10, comma, comma, a double quotation mark, M double quotation mark, add. So now that we have the variance over here. Second, also, I wanted to increase the thickness of the bar. So I'm going to right-click and format data series, decrease the gap width. Now that we have the bars, they become more thicker. It's okay. Also, if I'm going to look at screenshot at our dashboard, you notice that these numbers, I need to add them, which is about the actual, the budget, and the variance, and the percentages. So I'm going to go back to our dashboard over here. I will reduce the size of this one and move this chart to the side. And now I'm going to add this information, which is I'm going to add the actual and the budget. So to do so, I'm going to hit here equal, go back to my reports, and we'll select this cell exactly. So cell A3. And you will notice that now the name of the actual appears. If I drag it to the side, it will show the budget. And if I drag it to the side, it will show the variance because I'm dragging relatively. And now I'm going to make equal again over here, go back to my report, and I'm going to select this cell. But to make sure that this cell is selected, I will make sure that this function does not appear when I do selection. And the reason is that when you're going to drag to the right and the left, you will have an issues sometimes with the numbers. The number has been replicated. So I have to make sure that I'm selecting the name of the cell in this sheet. Like over here, when I select it, look at the name. It's equal, report, page, cell A3. So when I'm going to select this one, it should be report page and cell A4. So to do so, I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to paste it over here and click, sorry, just let me repeat that step again. I'm going to copy this one. And over here, I'm going to paste it over here. And this time, change it from A3 to A4. And now you can drag the number to the right, and you will see that this will copy for A5 and A6. Okay. So lastly, I'm going to add the percentage actual and the percentage variance. And to do so, I'm going to make equal, going back to my report, I will select this cell, which is D3, and then I'm going to copy and paste it over here. And to make sure that it's a report, it should be, instead of a D3, it should be an E3. So make sure to change it from here to be E3 instead of F. And over here, as I said, I'm going to copy this one. I'll make sure that this is D4. So this will be D4 to show the percentages. And as well for that, it has to be E4. And make sure that this will be in percentages also as well to show correctly. So now that we have this area, or what you can do over here is to come and maybe add a light background. You can make a bold font, adjust it, maybe not to bold in the number. Maybe you can bold in the topic, adding some lines in betweens. And you saw that right now we created a link between our report and we created the first part. Now, let's look at the second part of our dashboard. We want to include our trend analysis. And to do so, I'm going to go back to my report page. And this time, I'm going to cut both charts. So I'm going to go to my dashboard first, maybe adjust the size of this one and adjust the size of this one a little bit over here. And then maybe I'm going to copy this and paste it over here to have another division. And this will come as trend analysis. So I'm going to call this trend analysis, as you see. And in our trend analysis, we'll go back to our report. I need to cut both charts and paste them in my dashboard. So here is the area chart, and here is the line chart. So pull them up a little bit and start working with the format by, first of all, hiding these bottom fields and hiding these bottom fields on both charts. I'm going to delete the legend for now. I'm going to delete it for now. I will use it later. And as well, I'm going to delete this number with even these numbers. We'll adjust the charts, remove the grid lines from here, and make sure that also we will change the design color to match what we have. So I'm going to change and follow the same color theme that I used to make sure that we are following the same colors. So I'm going to select also the second chart and do the same. Click on design, click on the colors, and select the same color schemes. Also over here, I'm going to delete this one, the grid lines, and make sure that this chart will be resized to make sure that it fits inside. So I'm going to drag this one, put it in this area. And for the area chart, I'm going to also adjust it and also drag it to fill this area. And now in our trend analysis over here, I wanted to do a couple of things. I wanted to make sure that I have the legend. The legend is important for the chart because we have two colors. We want the people to understand which color representing which year. So to make sure that we'll add the legend, we'll click on the chart and we click on the adding the element. And this time I'm going to add the legend, but this time we'll select it to be on top. So here is the legend on top. I'm going to drag the legend to the corner. And also in the area, so I'm going to increase the area of the chart over here. So the plotting will show more. And also when I'm going to expand this one, I'm going to make sure that it fits inside one page. I'll do the same for my second chart. So I'm going to add the legend and make sure the legend, it should be on top. And after that, I'm going to drag this legend to be on the side. Sorry, so it's a little bit fiddly over here. I'm going to put it on the corner. And also, I would like to add the axis. Why? I'm going to add the vertical axis over here. I need to format the vertical axis, not the title. Actually, we need to add the axis, the vertical, as numbers. So here's my vertical axis over here. And then I will, after that, adjust this axis. If you see here that the jumps is 2 million by 2 millions, maybe if I'm going to look at formatting of the axis over here, I will make the jump by, instead 2 millions, make them by 1 million. And let's see how this will affect our chart. So right now, if you see that the jump between million and million, it might show more ups and downs in my chart. All right. So now that we have all the charts over here, I need to add legend to this one. And that's very important. So I'm going to click on the first one also, and I will add the legend. And this time also the legend to be on top. I'll move the legend also could be to the side over here. And as well as for this one, I don't need to add the legend because it's a one color. So here, right now that we have our 4 charts placed on our dashboard, what we need to do is to do a final touches and link them so it will be dynamically updating. So I have right now the actual and budget by divisions like that, but I do have a different offices in the region and in different areas. So I need to link them. So with the filter button, so when I filter, I wanted to see the information for our budget or for our office in Saudi Arabia, in Emirates, and Oman, and so on, I can do so. And once I click, all the update happens to all the other charts. So right now, to do so, I'm going to select one of the charts and click after that on Pivot Chart Analyze and select something called Insert Slicer. So my slicer would be looking at the region. I need to look at the region. And you see that Excel inserted something look like a filter button. So when I click on one of the regions, please pay attention to what happened to this chart over here. When I click on this one, you will see that this chart is updating. So that's great. What if I wanted this to be linked to all the other charts and update them at the same time? So to do so, we need to report connection, to do a report connection. Remember that when we created our reports, we were naming them report 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So I will do the same right now by selecting my slicer, and I'll go to my slicer options and then I click on the report connection. In the report connection, I'll make sure to select all the reports that I need to connect this slicer to. And now my slicer, when I click at one region, you will notice that all the information on my dashboard should update. Now, if I'm select the Kuwait, you see that the change is happening. And if I select on Oman, you see that this change is happening. And if I click over here, this also brings back the information to all regions. Some of the formatting tricks that when I select my slicer, I can go to the slicer options and put the information on two columns, for example, like that. And maybe I can adjust the size of it a little bit. Also, I can select some different colors to match my themes. So I can select this color, or you can select the bluish color, greenish color, whatever matching to your theme, you can, of course, select. And finally, we have to add, of course, some chart titles. And I can show you also a nice way to remove the frames around your charts, those borders. So I can select one of the charts, then go to the format and click no outlines. And for the fill, make it with no fill. So the chart will have no boundaries. And I will do the same for the second one. So select it from the frames and go select no outlines, and you can select no fill. And you can do the same for the third one. So you select change no outlines and no fills. And you can do it for the last one by clicking on the format with no outlines and no fill. And there you go. So you have your charts without borders around it. Okay. The last tip is just, of course, definitely you have to add always report the chart titles. Chart titles are very useful, so people, they can understand what each chart means. So over here, you see that we are seeing the expenses by division, breakdown by department, by specifically, it's the finance and admin department. And here we are showing the year-on-year analysis by division and month-on-month analysis. So make sure that we go to our dashboard, and we'll do so. For this one, we need to add a chart title, and our chart title, it should be on top, above, and this is YOY analysis by division. Okay, and you can, of course, decrease its font size and move it to the side. And you will do the same for the other charts as well. So this is one, I'm going to say it's a month-on-month analysis. So I'll add the chart title, should be above. So it's here, month on month analysis. I will make sure that this will be somewhere on the side, maybe over here. I'll decrease its size. And you see, sometimes that when you are adding some elements, it takes from the size of the chart. So you can click inside the chart again, area, the plot area, and you can increase this plot area, as well as over here, as you see. And this is, I can add for it a small chart title to say that this is showing the expense by division. And of course, I can, of course, make it smaller, add it to that number, move it to the side as well. And here you can say that this is finance and admin breakdown, and so on. That's the information that we got so far on our dashboard. So here is how we can create a dynamic dashboard that updates with our filter button and so on. So, any questions? It's time to ask questions. Do you have any questions? All right. So this information will be provided to you. The same file will be provided to you. And also we will provide for you a recorded link. So a recorded webinars. Yes. What is the best chart for trend? Of course. Now, good question. The best chart for trend analysis are using line chart, and you'll use area chart. Always for trending, we'll use a line chart and area chart. So it's line and area. Also, you can show a dual axis chart for that. dual axis chart can do the job, and clustered column. Yes, of course. So that's good. I like that area. So you see that the color is hiding, it's showing. So what other techniques you can do in formatting? For example, you can take specifically one of the colors and you can format it. Thank you for this question. So you can format these colors. And when you look at the fill, maybe you can look at working with some of the color transparencies. I can apply a lighter color for that. So now you see that the lighter color, it could be much better, of course. Thank you for that. It's a very wonderful. You can see that the green color was, yes, indeed, hiding. So that's why when you select also your colors, you make sure that your colors are good for the eyes. So that's good. Additionally, what else? Any other questions? Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. So you see that, of course, we did not focus also so much on the chart techniques and what to use. In our dynamic business dashboard, we talk about formatting in details, working more with the chart coloring, how to select which chart for which type of data, and how to manipulate every single chart element, starting from the axis, vertical, horizontal, talking about the data series, and so on. But this demonstration was enough also to show some of these techniques. All right. Any other also questions? Okay, I appreciate that you have attended this webinar with me, and I hope it was informative for you. Uh, Please just fill the survey by the end of this webinar, and I hope that you, yes, are we, just one more question, are we able to get the recording? Yes, you will be getting this recording. A copy of link will come to you by email, and you can look at this recording and follow step by step, and also with the Excel file. You will get the same Excel file that I was working on, so you can also practice on your own pace. Okay, so that's all for any questions. Any other questions, please feel free to ask more. Still have time. I can demonstrate other things. All right. So if you notice that I have added here, yeah, thank you so much. I have added here one slicer. You can see that we can add even more level of filtering. For example, if I wanted to select one of the charts, and again, I wanted to go to analyze and insert slicer, you will notice that we'll have more ways of inserting slicers. And these slicers are coming from what? From our data, from our report. For example, I can insert a slicer that to show quarters, and I can click it, okay, and you see that we have here some quarters. But of course, if I need to link the quarters, I need to link it, for example, to some of the charts, not all of them. So for example, if I wanted right now to format my slicer just to hide any items over here, and maybe I'll have the quarters in the option to be maybe on four columns like that, maybe Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Can move it to put it somewhere over here, and maybe give it a different format color, a grayish. And now this slicer has been inserted from this chart. It could affect this chart. But what if I wanted to control only this chart and not to control other charts? So I can change what it is connected to by clicking on the slicer and clicking on the slicer option. Make sure that I'm selecting the report number 4. This is report number 4. So I'm going to uncheck this one and select this one. And then after that, I'll click on this and I see that this slicer is changing for me this chart only. So you can add, but make sure when you add, you know what you are adding. Don't add more of them. Add what it is needed to show more extra details. Okay. So any other questions? Okay. So thank you so much. I hope you will be able to follow with me. And I look forward, of course, to seeing you hopefully in our next webinar. on some future webinars and also on some of our courses. So I'm going to go back to our slides presentation. Hold on. I'm going to go to our presentation and I'm going to start showing to you the last thing. So right now, if you wanted to look at, please visit our website for more information. You can, of course, email us many more questions at info. And here is our website. Okay, one more question. The difference between chart filter and the slicers, please. Okay, so here is the explanation. I'm going to go back and show what is the difference between the slicer and the slicer only will be available on the pivot tables. So right now, if I'm going to go back to our Excel file over here, and I'm just going to share, and let me show you. So the slicer only appear when we use a pivot charts. The filter on the chart, however, when you use the filter, it means that you want to hide a specific data series. Like, for example, let me bring you an example of this by going to my report over here. What, for example, if I wanted to copy this data over here, let me paste it and make a regular chart. So this is for a regular chart. So if I'm inserting here a regular, for example, line chart over here, let's say a line chart, that's a regular nut chart. If you talk about the filter of the chart, you can filter one item on the chart. For example, I don't want to show the year 2018. I want to show the year 2019. A slicer, however, if you look at our data, a slicer is something that to filter the data itself. The filter is to filter an item on the chart, but the slicers are showing for you the items on your data. So you are filtering actually the actual data. You got it? The filter on the slicer is to make sure on the chart is to hide and show elements. That's all. I hope this answers your question. Okay. So, yeah. That's it. That's it. That's clear. That's clear. Okay. And any other questions? Yes, of course, definitely. We can customize the slicers. Now, I will be happy to show you more customization of the slicers. So here are some of the customizations that you can do to your slicer. First of all, you can, of course, as I said, when you select the slicer, you can go to slicer options and you see that there are the first level of customization, which is the look at the feel and the styles and the colors. And also you can look at the number of columns that when you go to the slicer options, on how many columns you wanted to divide this information. But what is more important also is to look at the slicer settings. So let's go over here on the slicer option. Let's look at the slicer settings. First of all, you can give it a different name. Okay, so the name that appears on top could be something on the caption here. Sorry, the slicer has a name region. It could have a different name and it has a different caption. Also, you can choose to display the headers or not to display it. Arrange things from A to Z. And what is more and more important is the coloring right now. So you see right now, you have one selection at the time. So you can select one item. And if you want to select more than item, in this case, you will hold control. So that's it. But right now, if we will go back to slicer settings, and let me remove this one, put back. Let me show you how even you can change the color, the font, other things about the slicers. Like, as I said, when you go to the slicer settings, there are some built-in styles. So for example, if I wanted to make a change to this style, here's what I recommend. Don't play with the built-in. You will right-click and you create duplicate. Do you see that one? Create a duplicate. Now, in your duplicate, you can call it my own style, whatever. Give it a name, and you can call it my slicer. And when you have a my slicer over here, you will start working with things. For example, on the header, what is the format of the header? The format of the header, we could have it no color, gray color, what so on. What font you wanted to use. Do you want to have fill behind the header or not? And so on. You can do these changes. All right? And you can look what about the slicers item with data. How do you want to format them? Like these ones. Maybe I want to look at the format and look at the border. Here is the border and here's the fill color. You can have a different color. I can have this fill color or put my own color and so on. You got the idea? And also the font color. The font color, instead of being white, I can make it dark, black, and so on. And this all can be done. So feel free to do so. Play around with it. Format it the way that you want. And then, yeah, you got it. So you can format it the way that you want. And you'll go to the slicer to apply it. You will select your duplicate. So you see right now what I formatted. I selected here my duplicate, my custom one. It's called my slicer. If you don't need it, wish you can right click and delete it. But remember, the golden rule is to make sure that you will select one of the styles, right click and create a duplicate, and feel free to customize it. It's easy customization. Okay, thank you so much, Bayan, for the question. It was actually a good question. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you for, I appreciate also your time for attending. Thank you so much. Hopefully, of course, you will practice once you receive the link for the webinar and the files, so you can have a hands-on and see how you can build a dynamic dashboard.